In this video, we're uncovering the alarming truth about what's really in your dog's food bowl. The 8 brands you need to stop buying immediately, backed by FDA recalls, safety alerts, and contamination findings that should concern every pet owner. From deadly toxins and bacterial contamination to ingredients so dangerous the FDA had to step in, what you're about to discover might completely change the way you shop for your dog. And here's the good news. Stick with me until the end because I'll reveal 2 truly trustworthy brands that veterinary professionals actually stand behind. Let's dig in and separate the safe kibble from the dangerous ones. 8. Blue Buffalo. Starting at number 8, Blue Buffalo has built its entire reputation on the idea that they care more about your dog than the big corporate brands. And for millions of pet owners, that message hit home. You might have chosen Blue Buffalo yourself, believing you were giving your dog something better. But the FDA tells a different story. Blue Buffalo issued a voluntary recall on a limited wet dog food product after testing revealed elevated levels of naturally occurring beef thyroid hormones. The recall notice identified specific lot and date codes tied to the affected product, meaning certain batches sitting on store shelves or already in homes posed a real risk. Now, elevated thyroid hormones in dog food may not sound dramatic at first, but for older dogs or dogs with existing thyroid conditions, this kind of contamination can trigger serious health complications. Thyroid issues in dogs can lead to weight changes, lethargy, and long-term organ stress. And feeding eduariono, food that artificially elevates those hormone levels, only makes things worse. What makes this especially frustrating is that Blue Buffalo charges a premium. Pet owners pay more because they trust the brand to deliver a higher standard. When that trust is broken by an FDA recall, it raises a fair question. Are you really getting what you're paying for? For a brand that markets itself as the wholesome, natural alternative, a recall like this is a crack in the foundation that's hard to ignore. 7. Triumph. At number 7, Triumph is one of those brands you might have picked up at your local feed store without thinking twice. It's familiar, it's affordable, and it's been on shelves for years. But Sunshine Mills, the company behind Triumph, issued a voluntary recall of certain dog food products, including Triumph branded items, due to dangerous levels of aflatoxin. The recall notice included specific identifying codes and dates for the affected products and detailed the distribution scope, meaning these contaminated bags had already made their way into homes across multiple regions. Aflatoxin is a toxin produced by mold that grows on corn and other grains, and it's one of the most dangerous contaminants that can appear in pet food. Even at moderate levels, aflatoxin can cause liver damage, and at high levels, it can be fatal. For older dogs with already compromised immune systems or liver function, the risk is even greater. The fact that this contamination reached the level of a voluntary recall means the problem wasn't minor. If you've been feeding Triumph to your dog for years without issue, that may be true, but one bad batch is all it takes. 6. Sportsman's Pride. Moving to number 6, Sportsman's Pride is a name many dog owners in rural communities know well. It carries a sense of tradition, something you'd grab at the farm supply store alongside your other essentials. But the FDA posted an advisory specifically identifying certain Sportsman's Pride dry dog food products in an aflatoxin-related recall. Testing confirmed that aflatoxin was present in the implicated products, and the advisory tied those findings directly to formal recalls. This is the same deadly mold toxin we just talked about with Triumph, and finding it in yet another brand should concern every pet owner. Aflatoxin doesn't announce itself. Your dog's food can look and smell perfectly normal while silently delivering a poison that attacks the liver over time. For dogs that have been eating the same food for months or even years, cumulative exposure is a real danger. The FDA doesn't issue advisories lightly. When they single out a specific brand by name, it means the evidence was strong enough to warrant public warning. Sportsman's Pride may carry the feel of a trusted legacy brand, but that advisory tells a very different story. 5. ProPak. At number 5, ProPak is manufactured by Midwestern Pet Foods, a name that will come up more than once on this list, and that alone should raise a red flag. Midwestern Pet Foods recalled certain ProPak dry pet food products due to potential salmonella contamination. The recall notice identified the affected products, specific lot numbers, and distribution details, confirming that contaminated bags had already reached consumers. Salmonella in dog food isn't just a risk to your pet, it's a risk to you and everyone in your household. Handling contaminated kibble, touching your dog's bowl, or simply not washing your hands thoroughly enough after feeding can expose you to a bacteria that causes serious illness, especially in older adults, young children, and anyone with a weakened immune system. For the dog itself, salmonella can cause vomiting, diarrhea, fever, and lethargy. When a manufacturer has a salmonella problem, it usually points to systemic issues in their production facilities, not just a one-time accident. And as we'll see, Midwestern Pet Foods has a pattern that goes far beyond ProPak. 4. Victor. Approaching our top 4 worst offenders, Victor has earned a loyal following among dog owners who appreciate its high-protein formulas and Texas roots. But Mid-America Pet Food issued a voluntary recall of certain Victor-branded products due to possible salmonella contamination. And it didn't stop there. The FDA later posted an investigation update that described an expanded recall scope and related compliance issues, suggesting the initial problem was more widespread than first reported. When the FDA expands a recall and issues follow-up warnings about compliance, that tells you the situation was serious enough to warrant ongoing scrutiny. Salmonella contamination at scale means something went wrong in the manufacturing process, not just with a single ingredient batch. For pet owners who trusted Victor as a premium option, this recall is deeply unsettling. You expect more from a brand that positions itself above the budget competition, a brand that many working dog owners and hunting enthusiasts have relied on for years. The expanded scope means more products, more lot numbers, and more dogs potentially exposed. If Victor is currently in your pantry, it's worth checking those lot codes against the FDA's recall list very carefully. Trust is earned over time, but it can be lost in a single recall. 3. Evangers claiming the number 3 spot. Evangers is perhaps the most disturbing entry on this list. The FDA's warning letter revealed something that no pet owner should ever have to read. FDA testing found certain Evangers canned dog foods contaminated with pentobarbital. The FDA described the products as adulterated. Pentobarbital is a barbiturate drug used in euthanasia. The letter also acknowledged that Evangers initiated a voluntary recall of its whole beef chunk meat products manufactured during a specified period. Let that sink in for a moment. A drug used to put animals down was found in canned dog food sold on store shelves. The presence of pentobarbital in pet food suggests contaminated animal material entered the supply chain, a failure so fundamental that it calls into question every level of the company's sourcing and quality control. For older adults who treat their dogs like family members, and many of us do, the idea of unknowingly feeding your companion a product containing euthanasia drugs is genuinely heartbreaking. You open that can believing you're giving your dog a wholesome meal, and instead you're exposing them to a substance that should never be anywhere near a food product. This isn't a labeling issue or a minor quality slip. This is a contamination of the most serious kind. And the FDA's use of the word adulterated tells you exactly how they viewed it. If there's one entry on this list that should shake every pet owner's confidence, it's this one. 2. Raw energy coming in at number 2. Raw energy represents a growing category that many health-conscious pet owners have turned to: raw dog food. The idea of feeding your dog a raw, natural diet sounds appealing in theory, but the FDA stated that raw energy raw pet food tested positive for both Salmonella and Listeria monocytogenes. That's not one dangerous pathogen, that's 2, found in the same product. What makes this even more alarming is what the FDA said next. The firm had not initiated a recall at the time of the advisory. The FDA had to publish disposal guidance for the product because the company wasn't acting quickly enough on its own. Think about that. A government agency had to tell consumers how to safely throw away a product because the manufacturer wasn't stepping up to protect them. Listeria is especially dangerous for older adults and people with compromised immune systems, and it can be transmitted simply through handling the food or touching contaminated surfaces. Salmonella compounds that risk for both pet and owner. Raw pet foods already carry inherent bacterial risk by their very nature. But when a product tests positive for two serious pathogens simultaneously and the manufacturer doesn't immediately recall it, that's a level of negligence that puts lives in danger. If you're exploring raw feeding for your dog, this brand should be nowhere near your shopping list. 1. Sport Mix. Taking the #1 spot as the most dangerous dog food on this list, Sport Mix earned this position through a contamination crisis that made national headlines. The FDA issued a safety alert and then expanded the recall for certain Sport Mix dry dog foods due to aflatoxin contamination. This wasn't a minor detection. The levels were high enough that the FDA took the extraordinary step of issuing a formal warning letter to Midwestern Pet Foods, the same manufacturer behind ProPak earlier on this list. That warning letter referenced the aflatoxin-related recalls and the FDA's own inspection findings at the company's facilities. Aflatoxin at the levels found in Sport Mix products can be lethal. Dogs across the country fell ill, and tragically, many died after eating contaminated Sport Mix food. The FDA's decision to expand the recall and issue a formal warning letter tells you this was not an isolated incident, but a systemic failure in manufacturing and quality control. When a government agency takes the step of formally warning a manufacturer through an official letter, it means inspections revealed problems that went beyond a single bad batch. For pet owners who lost a beloved companion to this contamination, no recall notice can undo that damage. And for the rest of us, Sport Mix stands as the clearest possible warning. The cheapest bag on the shelf can carry the highest price. When it comes to your dog's food, what you don't know absolutely can hurt them. This is why reading recall histories and checking FDA alerts before you buy isn't optional. It's essential. After everything we've just covered, it would be easy to feel overwhelmed, maybe even afraid to buy any dog food at all. But here's the truth. Not every brand cuts corners, and not every manufacturer fails its quality checks. There are companies out there doing it the right way, with rigorous testing, transparent standards, and a genuine commitment to keeping your dog safe. These next two brands prove that you can feed your pet with confidence and peace of mind. 2. Royal Canin. Starting our safe list at number 2, Royal Canin has built a reputation that veterinarians around the world rely on, and that trust isn't based on marketing. It's based on process. According to the company's own quality and food safety documentation, every single shipment of raw ingredients is checked before it ever enters a production center. Their manufacturing facilities contain dedicated testing labs, meaning quality control isn't outsourced or afterthought. It's built into every step of production. Royal Canin states that its manufacturing sites comply with, and in many cases, exceed multiple quality assurance standards, including HACCP and GMP/GHP protocols, as well as Mars quality and food safety standards. For those unfamiliar, HACCP is a systematic approach to food safety that identifies and controls potential hazards before they become problems, not after they've already reached your dog's bowl. GMP and GHP protocols govern good manufacturing and hygiene practices throughout the entire production process. When a company voluntarily exceeds these standards rather than simply meeting the minimum, that tells you they take contamination prevention seriously. For pet owners who have just heard 8 brands fail their dogs in alarming ways, Royal Canin represents the kind of accountability and transparency that should be the industry standard. When your veterinarian recommends a brand by name, this is often the one they choose, and there's good reason for that confidence. 1. Purina Pro Plan. Taking the top spot as the safest dog food on this list, Purina Pro Plan delivers something that every pet owner deserves: confidence backed by science. Purina states that its products meet established nutritional standards and that most go beyond them, voluntarily following AAFCO guidelines that encourage actual feeding trials. That distinction matters enormously. Many brands simply formulate their food on paper to meet minimum nutrient profiles. Purina Pro Plan takes the additional step of conducting real feeding tests with real dogs to verify that the nutrition actually works as intended. Their veterinary diet line takes it even further. Product pages for Purina Pro Plan veterinary diets explicitly state that animal feeding tests using AAFCO procedures substantiate complete and balanced nutrition, with Nestlé Purina listed as the manufacturer and guarantor. That level of clinical backing is rare in the pet food industry. When a brand is willing to put its food through controlled feeding trials and publicly stand behind the results, you're looking at a company that prioritizes your dog's health over cutting costs. For pet owners who want to make one simple, informed decision at the store and know they're doing right by their dog, Purina Pro Plan has earned that trust through decades of consistent quality and scientific rigor. 8 dog food brands with serious FDA recalls, contamination findings, and safety failures, plus 2 that actually deliver the quality and safety your dog deserves. Before your next trip to the pet store, remember, check recall histories, look for brands that conduct real feeding trials, and never assume a familiar name on the bag means the food inside is safe. If this video changed the way you think about what's in your dog's bowl, hit that like button, drop a comment telling me which brand surprised you most, and share this with every dog owner you know. Subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss content protecting your family and your pets. Thanks for watching. Until next time, feed wisely.